בשם השם נעשה ונצליח, שיעור תורה. בעזרת השם, the shiur is going to be for רפואה שלמה of Raisa but Golda. May Hashem give her full health, speedy recovery. Bezrat Hashem, all of Am Yisrael, all of the people going through hardships right now throughout the world, all of Am Yisrael, what's either from these terrorists that are attacking us left and right, or just from the traditional difficulties that all of Am Yisrael faces on a daily basis. You know, as a basic current update of events, as I'm sure you guys know, there is the world is not getting any nicer. The world is getting scarier and scarier. And you know, we always talk about this, of how there's different shitot of how to get people to do teshuvah, and the traditional shita, the traditional method of how to make people do teshuvah that is very common around the world, but especially in America, is the nice way of giving nice stories, and hopefully people see the beauty of the Torah and eventually do teshuvah. Unfortunately, as we've spoken about it many, many times, for the vast amount of people around the world, it does not work. It does not work. It hasn't worked in many years. And of course, not to everybody. There's some people that, of course, do teshuvah because they love it and they see the beauty of the Torah. This is not a kitul chas v'chalila, not the rabbis and not the people that are doing teshuvah or not doing teshuvah. But the Yetzer Hara in our generation is so big that we don't even know what the Torah is, let alone to know the beauty of the Torah. So when a rabbi comes to you and he tells you of a story of how Chazal did this, this, and this, or Moshe Rabbeinu did this, this, and this, most people will say, oh, it's a nice story, but it doesn't obligate me to go keep Shabbat or kosher, or tell my wife that I can't touch her for half the month almost. Ma pitom. So we see the results by seeing how many people are Torah observant Jews. And you see that Torah observant Jews even though there's a lot of Baalei Teshuvah in our generation and in the last generation as well, you still see that the vast majority of Am Yisrael is not doing teshuvah. You still see that you still have about 70 to maybe even 80% of Am Yisrael does not observe the Shabbat, is not interested in observing the Shabbat, and does not know the significance of not observing the Shabbat is. Because when you tell them the beautiful parts of the Torah, you don't go over the difficult parts, or the parts that are not exactly pleasing to hear. So in the world today, we see that Hashem Yitbarach is obviously smarter than anything we could ever imagine, and He is maneuvering the world in a way to make the situation scarier and scarier, to make sure that whoever is on the fence, whoever has potential, whoever is not completely lost, is going to be saved before it's too late. And He's not doing it from love, as far as telling us nice stories of how, look, how many Israelis have won the Nobel Prize. Look at what wonderful announcement Barack Obama made about Israel. Look at how good the world is treating Am Yisrael. No, He's not doing that. He's doing it by making the world a very scary place, and by making everything literally as He wrote and as He told the sages to write 2,000 to 3,000 years ago, and in some cases, you know, when the Torah was given to us 3,300 years ago or so, where this whole world is turning into exactly what it's described as in the Gemara, which is Alma de Shikra, which is Olam HaSheker, which is a world of lies. How so? if you look at the world today, nothing makes sense in how they treat Am Yisrael. Right now we have a situation where the leaders of the Arab people are not only funding terrorism, like they have pretty much since the beginning of time, but they're publicly announcing that the average Mr. Arab is supposed to take the initiative and join the intifada and take a knife and stab whoever he can get. Take a knife and stab somebody. Make yourself useful. This alone is already crazy.
Mm-hmm.
We try to defend ourselves.
In America, somebody like that, a leader, anybody, will go publicly say something like that, and as soon as the first stabbing occurred, it would be he would be complacent in the murder.
Yeah,
be attached to the murder, to the.
But not only that.
How did they get away with it? I don't understand.
So they started this way. Here's a series of events that have happened. First, well, obviously we have all this balagan that has been happening in the Middle East for a long time. Then we have the Russian army arriving on September 11th of this year, 3 days before Rosh Hashanah, in Syria with a ship full of atomic bombs. For what? Obviously not for ISIS. Then we have the leaders of the Arab world publicly announcing that it is their duty to take a knife and stab Jews at will. We also had a kid that had a dream that shook up a lot of Israeli people, because it was in Hebrew, it shook up more of the Israeli people than anybody in America. A lot of people did. A lot of people did teshuvah. Started, especially young people started doing teshuvah and getting back on the derech. But then you had some rabbis that came out and cooled everybody off by saying, "No, don't worry. Just nothing's going to happen to Am Yisrael. Am Yisrael is full of, tzaddikim or Am Kadosh. You have nothing to worry about." So people that were on the fence, is what this kid's saying true? Is it not true? Is what's happening in the world where a World War III is on pretty much as the
hedge.
Newspaper in the United Kingdom said it, we're 30 seconds away from World War III. Is it really true? Should I do teshuvah? Is it the end of times? People that were on the fence, they hear a rabbi come out, and he says, listen, don't listen to any of these people that are scaring you. And this is not like rabbis that are not tzaddikim. This is righteous, very, very righteous people.
No.
There's nothing to worry about. Am Yisrael should not be scared.
So what's this explanation?
Rav Musafi.
Big chachamim.
So,
And they said that you have nothing to worry about. So people that were on the fence got back to being chilonim.
Right.
So Hashem saw this happening, so he had to pick up a notch. So it wasn't enough that Russia showed up with atomic bombs. It wasn't enough that China joined them. It wasn't enough that North Korea joined them. It wasn't enough that America is pretty much, is only friends with Israel only by, just by,
on the paper.
on paper. It wasn't enough that the Arabs are telling all of their people to kill us with their knives. It's what's happening now. It's not enough of what Iran, all the negotiations obviously preceding all of this stuff, where you're giving the terrorists $100 billion back so they can build more bombs and fund more terrorism. Wasn't enough. People didn't do teshuvah yet, so Hashem picked it up a notch in the last couple of weeks, especially this last week, and now he's sending children. Now you have children of the Palestinians and children of the other Arab nations that are taking knives and trying to kill Jews. children. 13-year-old kid, 16-year-old girl. These are not the victims. These are the perpetrators. These are the attackers. These are the terrorists. Why is he doing all this? It's very obvious. At the end of times, the entire world, as Hashem has given the prophecies to Zechariah and the other prophets, as we've written in the Gemara, the entire world will turn against us. How do you turn the entire world against Am Yisrael? By making the picture so lopsided that it doesn't make any sense to be on their side. How? Because right now, we're defending ourselves, but still we're being attacked by the media, and we're being viewed as terrorists, and we're being viewed as the worst thing in the world, even though we're just defending ourselves. Mm-hmm. They're shooting 4,000 missiles on us, and because they didn't kill enough people, and we did, we're the attackers. We're doing too much. So it already doesn't sound right. But now, what's happening with the kids? These kids are trying to kill people. Now, obviously, you see a terrorist with a knife. It doesn't matter if he's 13 or he's 50. Guy's trying to kill somebody. You're going to try to shoot him. You're not always going to succeed shooting him in the leg. So what's going to happen? You're going to shoot one of these kids, 12-year-old kid that has a knife that's about to murder an old woman, or another kid in his class. We shoot him, we kill him, and the whole world turns against us and say, oh, look, they're killing women and children. And that's how the whole world turns against us. So whoever hasn't woken up yet and thinks that things are going to get better, thinks that things are going to just go away like a headache, I have news for you. It's not. It's not that we want bad to happen. It's that bad is necessary. Because Am Yisrael is not going to do teshuvah out of love. Am Yisrael is not going to do teshuvah out of the beauty of the Torah. Because we're so far off. We're not, we're very similar to the generation of Egypt. We were on a 49th level of Tumah. And if Hashem would have waited one more day, we would have reached the 50th level, which is unsavable. So right now we're on the same level where most of Am Yisrael does not know what the Torah is, does not know that there is really a commandment from the Creator of the world that makes their beach going a major sin that will make people that continue it without doing teshuvah have eternal suffering. Does not, this is a problem. So when people are not doing teshuvah, and we're already running out of time, according to all of the sages, according to all of the prophecies, Hashem has to pick up a notch. So people are, when I hear people's stories and they're telling me, I'm worried, the business is slow this month. Or you hear, I'm really worried, my baseball team is in the playoffs and I'm not really sure they're going to be able to win. Or I'm worried, my new painting didn't come out as good as I thought it will. And they tell you all of these things. You can't help it but feel bad for them. Because they're so far off of reality, you don't even know what to tell them. You don't even know where to start. You don't even know where to begin the conversation. The world is about to explode. We're being heated with a volcano after another volcano. Everything is heating up. There's major damages happening. There's even, unfortunately, a lot more that's cooking. You have to be blind not to see it. When you have a nation trying to defend itself, and its enemy is sending even its children to stab you and kill you, but yet the world is telling us that we're wrong. The one that's defending itself is wrong. So what happens? So the soldiers of the Israeli Defense Force, they can't really be soldiers. They're scared to shoot. They're scared to even go in front of these people. Why? Because before every bullet has a serial number on it. Pretty much, you shoot that bullet, you may go to jail. So You just protected somebody. You just saved somebody's life, or maybe several people's lives, but you may end up going to jail for doing that. Why? Because the media and the politics and the United Nations, which, by the way, is in cahoots with the enemy on a regular basis, but that's a different story.
Controlled by them.
So everything doesn't make sense. The sages already told us, this is Alma de Shikra, this is the world of lies. Of course, they were referring to many things. How the rich are the ones that have the kavod in this life, and the righteous are not necessarily so. You have major tzaddikim like Rabbi Pinto that's on his way to jail. The guy hasn't stopped helping people for the last 22 years, but now he's on the way to going to jail for something he didn't even do. This is a rabbi, this is a tzaddik, this is a person that dedicated his life to helping people. You have other rabbis that, I'm talking about the righteous ones, I'm not talking about the Rashaim that call themselves rabbis. Other rabbis are having difficulty because the boards of certain congregations will not let them come speak, because if they come speak, they're going to say the truth. And if they say the truth, maybe it's going to scare people. Maybe people are not going to come to the Knesset anymore because the synagogue and this so-called rabbi are telling people you should drive to shul on Shabbat because we need the minyan. Little do they know that if someone drives on Shabbat, someone is a mechalel Shabbat, he can't be counted in minyan. There's actually a machloket of whether you're even allowed to say Kaddish on him. The machloket. It's not 100% that you can say Kaddish on someone that's mechalel Shabbat. Whether he can say Kaddish, his Kaddish doesn't count. He doesn't count as a Jew. But you say this at most congregations in America, they'll kick you out in 5 minutes. Maybe they'll even fire the guy that brought you, if he's part of the board or he's the rabbi.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a situation that is getting worse and worse, and unfortunately, not enough people are waking up. This is sad. And that's why, as optimistic as I've tried to be throughout my whole life, it's very, very difficult to be optimistic now, because you see the situation, you see how people are reacting to it, and it doesn't match. A few weeks ago, they were getting ready, I'm going to be modest, I'm going to be more generous, I'm going to give tzedakah, I'm going to go to shul, I'm going to do tefillin, I'm going to keep Shabbat, they want to do everything. Great. This is the minimum requirements. This is not chumrah. This is not above and beyond what you're supposed to do. This is the minimum requirements. There's a few more minimum ones. So they said they're going to do it, but now, it's not so much. Why? Because a lot of the leaders that are supposed to tell people the truth are not telling them the truth. They're either telling you have nothing to worry about, so continue on your way, or they're not even addressing it. They're not even saying anything. They're just running the world, and let's talk about today. Oh, you came to the Knesset, thank you for coming. It's the first time you've been in the Knesset this whole week. All right, let's talk about the halacha of the korbanot in the Bet HaMikdash that we haven't had for 2,000 years. Let's talk about that. Let's learn about the korbanot. Okay, well, if I was a person that comes to the Knesset for Shachrit, Mincha, Arvit, Shomer Shabbat, Talmid Chacham, learn Torah every day, yes, you know what? I want to learn about the korbanot of the Bet HaMikdash, because this is Torah. But if I don't keep Shabbat, and kosher is debatable, and my wife walks around half naked, or she thinks she's modest because she's wearing a skirt, even though the skirt doesn't cover the knees and it's tight like skin, but she thinks she's modest. And I come to shul once a week, and you're telling me about the korbanot of Bet HaMikdash. Not only does it not make me more religious, it may actually make me not like the Torah. Because I think it's boring. Who cares about the korbanot of Bet HaMikdash? I'm a Mechalot Shabbat. I don't think about Bet HaMikdash. Who has the Bet HaMikdash? Why are they talking about the Bet HaMikdash? I don't have a Bet HaMikdash. Why do I need to know about the korbanot of Bet HaMikdash? This is the mind of someone that's not keeping anything. Even if they do keep something minimal, but they're not learning Torah, they can't connect to the halachot of the etrog. They can't connect to the, what is muktzeh and what is not. Should I use gel on Shabbat or am I not allowed to? The guy doesn't keep Shabbat, he's driving. What are you teaching about the stuff, the muktzeh? What muktzeh? The guy's driving to Beit Knesset. Well, what are we doing here? So what does that make the guy do? The guy's listening to this. This guy's talking about korbanot again. Psst, who needs this stuff? I don't want to come. I'm not coming here next week. Instead of doing kiruv, you're doing kiruv rechokim. You're doing rechokim of the kiruv. It's the opposite. Why do we have this major divide? Why is there such a big separation between the leaders and the people that we need to help? Because most of the leaders are from birth. Most of the leaders are religious from birth. They've always been around religious people. They've always been around the Torah, the Talmidim Chachamim. Some of them are very, very righteous. Some of them are very, very humble. And to them, someone that's not keeping Torah can't be because they don't know. Everybody knows Torah. How could you not know Torah? The creator of the world, the creator of the heaven and the earth gave us a letter, and you don't know Torah? Of course you know Torah. So maybe they just don't want to do it. So I have to convince them to do it by showing them the nice things about the Torah. This is just one of the excuses that I could come up with. There's a few other ones, but in general it's very, very hard to understand how there's such a big separation between the two. But in reality, what it all comes down to, the one that's from birth cannot understand the mind, most of them, not all of them, that's for shalom. The average rabbi that's 30, 35, 40 years old, doesn't have that much experience yet. He's not a unique scenario. He's average. The average rabbi cannot understand the mind of a full-blown secular person that does not keep anything. They have two different worlds. This guy's been in yeshiva his whole life. His first job in his life was being a rabbi. He's excited about making $2,000 a month and having a minivan that someone arranged for him and having his third kid and learning Chumash on Monday and Gemara on Tuesday, and he's excited about it. This is his exciting part about his life. The other guy, he can't wait to go to Las Vegas next week. He's thinking about, why is my wife wearing so much clothes? There's a major divide between the two. So when you're teaching the guy that's thinking about Las Vegas, about etrogim, or about muktzeh, or about the Bet HaMikdash that we don't have, unfortunately, how do you expect results? So that's the problem. So Hashem has to take control, as He always has control. He's always had control, but we're seeing more and more of it now. And the reality of it is, the things are getting scarier. The time is getting shorter. And we're in a situation where you have to pretty much save anyone you can get. You can no longer spend all of your efforts chasing distant Jews in a far, far away land if there's 3 of them, because there's 400 right next to you. Of course, the Torah tells us, listen, someone spends 70 years chasing one Jew and to do teshuvah and succeeds. It's he bought himself his own, the olam haba. But that's in a generation where pretty much everybody was religious. So yeah, finding that one Jew that wasn't religious was a big deal. It was worth it. Finding one Jew, making us back to 100% or 95% religious, great, sure. Well, we don't have those statistics anymore. Now it's most of us, unfortunately. Now you have family members, now you have friends, now you have people that you care about, where we all know that based on the Torah, based on what HaShem Yitbarach said, if the Mashiach came today, there's no way in the world that he could save them. The fact that people are denying this truth and are telling people you have nothing to worry about, I don't know how you can sleep at night telling people, listen, you're okay, when you know that this guy, if the Mashiach came tomorrow, he's not okay. Now, I'm not saying you have to beat him up and force him to keep Shabbat right this second, but get him on that road. Stop telling him he's okay. He's not okay. It's not okay. I'm not saying being a judge. I've never tried to be a judge. Hopefully I never was viewed as a judge on you guys or anybody. Not you, not anybody that's watching. I tell you what it is. You do what you want. But at least I'm going to tell you. At least you're going to know the truth. I'm not going to make the decision for you and say, listen, he's not ready for this. What do you mean he's not ready? He was ready for it 3,000 years ago when we were given the Torah. You know what the truth is. You make an educated decision. Someone that has cancer needs to know they have cancer. You can't give them this illusion. No, don't worry about it. You're okay. You're okay. One day the guy, is 3 days before he's going to die. He finally figures out that he has cancer. And he comes to you and says, why didn't you tell me a year ago that I have cancer? No, I didn't want you to be worried. What do you mean I didn't want you to be worried? If you would have told me, I would have managed the last year completely different. I wouldn't have gone to work. I would have spent it with my family. I've been working 12 hours a day every single day for the last year because I'm trying to save for this house. I'm going to die in 3 days. What house? So by making a decision for people and not telling them the truth, it's irresponsible. It's not fair. It's not nice. To live in an illusion that we have unlimited amount of time, it's going against the Torah. And this is why Hashem is making the world scarier and scarier, because one of the prophecies is that we'll have nothing to rely on but Him. This includes the leaders. It's not to say that the tzaddikim that are in our generation are not tzaddikim, but on a grand scale, the only way we could save more people is with the situation getting more difficult than it is right now. So when you're seeing the media up till now going against Israel because there's stabbings and there's shootings and there's bombings and there's missiles, I'm telling you, do not be surprised when it gets much worse and countries declare war on Jews. Like outright war on Jews because they killed some innocent 9-year-old mini terrorist. He only killed 3 kids. Why did you have to shoot him? Why couldn't you shoot him in the foot? Why couldn't you just push him over? He only killed 3 kids in his class. This is the logic of this world. So if we don't wake up now, Hashem is going to have to wake us up. So now going into this week's parasha, Baruch Hashem is much better news in the parasha. In the beginning of it at least. But then it goes to a situation which also is part of the reason what made me think about what we're talking about. Which is the whole disaster and destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. But before we get into that, we'll go over some of the midrashim, we'll go over some of the things that happened to Avraham Avinu. Vayera elav Adonai באלוני ממרא, והוא יושב פתח האוהל כחום היום. Hashem appeared to him in the place of Mamre while he was sitting at the entrance of the tent in the heat of the day. So Chazal is telling us here that this is 3 days. This is the 3rd day after Avraham Avinu's circumcision. Anyone who knows anything about circumcision knows that it's obviously not an easy process when you're not 8 days old. So none of you remember your Brit Milah, but anyone that did it as a part of a conversion, or anyone that did it later on in their life, knows that it's a very, very difficult surgery. In today's age, it's under anesthesia. Avraham Avinu did not have this anesthesia, and he was also 99 years old. So the third day of recovery, the third day after, is the most difficult one. It's the most painful one. And HaShem came down to visit him. Gemara Masechet Sotah says that we always, every time we have HaShem comes to someone, whether it's Avraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, Moshe, anyone that we've heard from before, there's always a message. So the Gemara asks, why did Hashem come here? Because the Torah Bechtav, the written Torah, doesn't say what Hashem said. It just says that Hashem appeared to Avraham, but that's it. It doesn't say, there's no dialogue. They didn't talk. What happened? So why did he come? He came to do Bikur Cholim. He came to visit the sick. This is one of the sources of where we learn the significance of Bikur Cholim. The significance of visiting the sick. We've said this in other shiurim before, but just for the sake of staying on the subject and how significant it is, Rabbi Akiva, alav shalom, is 24,000 students, the most successful rabbi in history. 24,000 students, where his worst student knew more Torah than the entire world we have today combined. His worst student. His worst student was able to bring back the dead. His worst student. He had 24,000 of them. He has 24,000. But he noticed every one of his students. Well, one day they say they tell a story about him. That one day one of his students did not come to Bet Midrash to learn. He asked people about it, and he said, "Oh, we don't know where he is." What do you mean you don't know? He says, how do you know? 24,000. A teacher today in school doesn't remember if how many students he has. He has to think about it twice before whether he has 30 students or 32 students. Forget about if they showed up or not. He has 24,000 students, and he noticed that one of them did not show up. And it doesn't say this student was something like more significant than everybody else. It's a regular student. Rabbi Akiva goes to his house, and he sees this Talmid is sick in bed. And he comes to the house, and he feels so bad for him. He doesn't know what to do. He starts cleaning his house. Sees the whole house is a mess. Poor guy, it's dirty, it's nasty, this, that. He starts cleaning his house. The Talmid sees his rabbi, Rabbi Akiva. This is not Yaron Reuven. This is Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva is cleaning your house. Guy jumps out of the bed. All of a sudden, he has all this power. He's like, Rabbi, no, you saved me. He got so down, being sick, not having any visitors. Gets you even sicker when you're sick. And one of the things that keeps you going when you're sick is love. As I've told you guys in the past, with my personal battle with health, the main thing that kept me alive is my wife. I wanted to go a long, long time ago. Living in pain 24 hours a day is not fun. I'm not talking about pain like, I have a headache. I'm talking about, my foot hurts. I'm talking about pain from neck down to the bottom of your feet all the time. 24 hours a day. Where all the painkillers you can take maybe makes you dizzy after 50 of them. But it doesn't take the pain away. You feel like somebody's taking a knife and he's cutting you open over and over again. And then when that stops, you feel like somebody's electrocuting you. And then when that stops, you feel like somebody's stabbing you from another side. It's non-stop. Nightmare. Main thing that I wanted to go. But what happened? Let's see. This woman was brought into this world just to make me happy. And what's the best part about it is that she's making me feel like everything's good. I'm the same guy that she married in the beginning. Everything's great. Something amazing. Keeps you alive. For that, there's no amount of gratitude you could ever show. So Rabbi Akiva sees his student sick, he cleans his house. The student gets power and feels like, if you don't mind making it a little cooler, it's really hot. And feels like he got his power back, and that's when Rabbi Akiva went back to the kollel, and he said this very, very important Gemara, that someone who doesn't visit the sick is as if he murdered him himself. כל מי שלא מבקר חולה כמו ששופך דמים. It's in מסכת נדרים, page 40, mem aleph, tzad aleph. Anyone who does not visit the sick is like he's murdering him. Because in essence, this guy, this Tana, this is a major sage. He says if Rabbi didn't come just to show me something, some type of love, something that somebody cares about me, I would have died. So this is one of the things that the Gemara in Masechet Sotah, it's page 14 if anybody wants to look, Chazal asks, why did Hashem come visit Avraham Avinu? Because there's no dialogue, they didn't say anything. Bikur Cholim. He came to see how you're doing. How are you? I know it's a tough day. Hashem gave him chesed, and he made it, it says over here at the end of the first verse, Kechom Ayom. Nowhere else in the Torah that I remember does it ever mention this heat. Now, obviously, at all of this time in the Torah, we're always in the Middle East. It's always hot. You go to Tel Aviv, you go to Yerushalayim, you go to Netanya, you go anywhere in Israel, it's always hot. One place is hotter than the other. One place is 100 degrees, another place feels like it's 500. But the point is that it's always hot. This is where they were this whole time. You go to Egypt, in the desert, it's even hotter. But over here it mentions that it's hot. Why is it mentioned it's hot? The Midrash says the heat made the pain that Avraham had less. Made him feel better. So Hashem took out the sun, a piece of the sun, it's a secret, a piece of the sun out of its cover. Now, the book over here that we've talked about in the past several times by Rabbi Zamir Cohen shows something very, very interesting. Scientists in the last 100 years discovered that the sun actually has a cover. It's not just like an extra special hot day where Rashi is saying that the it's a hot day, took it out of the maybe this, the fact that it came out of the shell that the sun has, maybe just means that it was hotter than usual. No. Chazal is telling us something, a very, very big secret that only the creator of the world could have told us. The actual sun is inside a shell. Inside the sun, the outside of the sun, here the sun's sheath. So this is a ball of the sun. See it? It's something. It's just a ball of fire, pretty much. But this book is fantastic. You really should read all of it. The outside of the sun, what we're getting, the ray of sun that we're getting right now is 6,000 degrees Celsius. 6,000 degrees. By the time it gets to us, it's 90 degrees, 85 degrees, 75 degrees, whatever it is. Okay? But after doing research, they discovered something very, very special. Inside the sun, under this shell, is actually 15 million degrees. Ooh. Where if this shell was not there, it would be 15 million degrees would be coming to us. Now, right now it's 6,000 degrees. There are places around the world that you could barely go outside because it's 120 degrees. That's from 6,000 degrees. 15 million degrees. Burn, there wouldn't even be enough time to say burn. So Chazal is giving us a very big secret here that the sun really has a shell. And HaShem took a small piece of it, not the whole thing obviously, because then the whole world would be destroyed. If anybody has this book from Rabbi Zamir Cohen, it's on page 16 through 19, or actually 16 through 21. He took pictures of the sun and different X-rays and so on, and it's really, really cool. Anyway, so Hashem took a small piece of the sun and made it hotter. Made it like 200 degrees. But that heat made Avraham Avinu feel good. Made the pain of the third day of Brit Milah less. In Sefer Malachi, which is one of the last prophets, we get another secret. In the section, or it's really the end of it, 3:19 of Sefer Malachi, it's the later prophets. כי הנה היום בא בוער כתנור, והיו כל זדים וכל עושה רשעה, קש וליאת אותם היום הבא, אמר אדוני צבאות, אשר לא יעזוב להם שורש וענף וזרחה לכם, יראה שמי שמש, צדקה ומרפא בכנפיה, ויצאתם ופשתם כעגלי מרבק. For behold, the day is coming. This he's referring the end of days. This is why I'm connecting all of this. Baruch Hashem. He's talking about the end of days. He's talking about what's going to happen at the times of the Mashiach. For behold, the day is coming, burning like an oven, when all of the wicked people and all the evil doers will be like straw. And at the coming day will burn them up, says Hashem, Master of Legions, so that it will not leave them a root or branch. But a son of righteousness will shine for you, who will fear my name. Those who have fear of Hashem, for them, it's not going to burn them. Midrash over here says, Chazal is explaining to us that Hashem is going to take the sun, the entire sun, out of its cover. 15 million degrees. It's going to be exposed to the world. The Rashaim will be instantly burned. But those that have fear of Hashem, he doesn't say the tzaddikim. He doesn't say the ones that are, just going to Shachrit, Mincha, and Arvit, and have the payas and the hats and the black and white. Not saying the tzaddikim and the guys that wrote a book. I'm not talking about just that. He's talking about those that have fear of Hashem. Those that fear my name. For them, it's going to be healing. For them, this heat is going to be healing, just like Avraham Avinu. Healing. Obviously, this is a miracle. With healing in its rays, and you will go out and flourish like calves, fattened in the stall, and you will trample the wicked. For they will be ashes under the soles of your feet. On that day that I bring about, says Hashem, Master of Legions. So don't say who it's, maybe this prophet is making up his own things. This is Hashem saying this. It's not me, it's not some rabbi, it's Hashem. Says Hashem, Master of Legions, remember the Torah of Moses, my servant, which I commanded him at Horeb, which he's referring to Mount Sinai, it's another name for it, for all of Israel, not just the ones that live in Bnei Brak, not just the ones that live in Israel, not just the ones that live in Borough Park, not in Muncie. He said all of Israel, its decrees and its statutes. This is what he's telling you. So now, when you read something like this, first of all, it's pretty amazing that Hashem gave us, the scientists of today, the necessary information to see how something like this can even happen. What do you mean the sun is going to destroy some people, help other people? But on top of that, when you read something like this is not so nice. Meaning, chas v'shalom, not that Hashem is not nice, but meaning that this is not the beautiful part of the Torah, the stories that we hear about all the time. This is Hashem telling you that the wicked will be burned, and the righteous, the ones that are fear Hashem. What do you mean fear Hashem? He's not saying the ones that love Hashem. He's not saying the ones that like the stories. He's not saying the ones that belong to a certain group that meets every first of the month and talks about the history of the Zionist movement. I'm not talking about that. He's talking those that fear Hashem. What do you mean fear Hashem? If you fear Hashem, of course you're going to do the mitzvot. Whether you like it or not is irrelevant. Of course it's better if you like it. Of course it's better if you enjoy it. Of course, if you actually understood how beautiful the Torah is, of course you would like it. But unfortunately, we're out of time. So if you don't like it, you still have to do it. If you don't agree with it, you still have to do it if you want to be saved. There's no other way. He's not saying, listen, he's such a nice guy. Yeah, he didn't keep Shabbat. No, he didn't really eat kosher. He ate the pizza at Gino's. But that's just Gino's. At least he didn't eat the bacon sandwich. And his girlfriend, she was thinking about converting. And he only stole a little bit from his clients. He could have stole a lot more. He's not saying, you know what, I like that guy so much, I'm going to give him a pass. Nowhere in the Torah is there such a verse that Hashem says, you know what, he doesn't keep anything, but I'm going to give him a pass because I like him. Nowhere. There's not one verse, there's not one iota of a verse, there's not even one letter that says that someone doesn't keep mitzvot, someone that doesn't fear Hashem, someone doesn't observe all of these things, especially the foundation, the covenants, which we learned about one of them last week, the brink. No one does say that person's going to be saved. But that person should not be worried. So when you hear people say, no, every Jew has chelik l'olam haba, every Jew has a part of the next world, you don't have to change, it's okay, you have nothing to worry about. It makes me very sad because you're lying to people. Mamash, you're lying to people. They're living their life, it's a full lie. They think that it's okay to live their life according to their logic, just as long as they're a nice person based on their logic, which by itself is debatable. Mm-hmm. It's not nice. It's not nice. Mamash, it's sad. And that's why Hashem, that loves Am Yisrael, has to wake us up in different ways. So now moving on beyond the first verse. There's so much about this one verse. It's really beautiful how a lot of these things connect. You see, I tell you all the time, you learn a parasha enough, you're always going to connect it to today. Yeah. You're always going to connect it to today, to you personally, to the world around you. You just see from the first verse, we talked for 50 minutes. And I don't think I repeated the same thing twice. Not that you give me anything, it's all the Torah. You get the same thing. So now, we just finished the first verse of this parasha, Tomer. First verse, that's it. So we've been talking for 50 minutes about the first verse, Baruch Hashem. I think if I studied it longer, we could probably talk for another 500 days. There's that much in this first verse, Baruch Hashem. So now, Hashem is visiting him, he's visiting the sick, he's visiting Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu says, wait, 1 second, Hashem. I see these 3 Arabs. They're walking in my direction. I need visitors. He needs to host people. Right. It's what gave him good. That's why anyone that's a good host is, gets a nickname of Avraham Avinu. We don't have that many of them today. But Baruch Hashem, there's still a few. Avraham Avinu is in major pain right now. He's in the third day after circumcision. And he sees these three. It's not like he sees three tzaddikim. He says, oh, it's Rabbi Ovadia, it's Rabbi Yashiv, it's Rabbi Mutzapi. You know, he's not seeing any one of these. He's seeing
three people.
Three Arabs. What he thinks are, obviously we find out later on, these are three angels. But he sees three Arabs. And he runs to them because he sees that they may be going in a different direction. They may be, they don't want to bother him. But he comes to them and he begs them to come so he can host them. Please, please, come. Just eat a little bit of bread. Let me wash your feet. A little bit of bread. This is the next lesson we learn.
Wash your feet.
This is, washing your feet.
First of all,
because in those days, the idol worshippers would, this is what they one of the symbols of whether somebody was a idol worshipper or not was, I guess, the sand on their feet. And one of the ways that he wanted to find out whether these people are idol worshippers or not was whether they would let him wash their feet. If they let him wash their feet, they're not idol worshippers. Mm-hmm. So he could not have idol worshippers in his house. Mm-hmm. Let me wash your feet, he says. He says, let me wash your feet and come eat a pat lechem, a morsel of bread, a small piece of bread, and then you can go on your way. This is something we learn, a very, very, very important lesson from Avraham Avinu.
Then,
in Masechet Bava Metzia it says, the righteous speak little and do much. They say, no, come eat a little bit of piece of bread. What does he do really? He takes a different calf for each one of them. He slaughters a separate calf for each one. Why? To give them the tongue. Tongue. He wants to give each one of them the tongue. Now, anyone who knows a little bit about animals, the tongue actually is not just the piece that you see. The tongue is very, very long. So once, slaughter one animal, slaughter one calf, cut it into a few pieces, and you still have leftover. The Gemara says, this is Bava Metzia, I believe also, that the part that he wanted to give them tastes better than the rest of the tongue, so he decided that he had to slaughter 3 different calves just to make sure to give them the juicy part.
No.
So and not only that, he's doing this himself.
Wow.
Now, Avraham Avinu is a multimillionaire. He's not some misken. He's a multimillionaire. He's a very important person. He runs home. He tells Sarah, go bake the cakes because he wants her to be involved in this big mitzvah of hosting guests. And he picks the animal. And Masechet Bava Metzia talks about how for each thing that he did himself, he got his descendants got a different reward for it. I'm not going to go over the details, but the point is that he wanted to do all of this himself. Again, don't forget, he's in the 3rd day, the most painful day of the circumcision. He's 99 years old. He's not a young guy. And he's not like in a generation like Noach or like Adam HaRishon that people lived 800 years or 1,000 years. So he's old. And he's running around and he's cutting, and all of this just for these 3 Arabs that he doesn't know who they are. It's 3 guests. Why? Because he knows that this is the way to serve Hashem. Being a gracious host is another way to serve Hashem, which is the reason why he says to Hashem that came to visit him, especially, 1 second, Hashem, I have guests. Yeah. Imagine this, Hashem comes to you to visit you. Hashem, not me. Hashem. Hashem comes to visit you. He says, 1 second, Hashem, I have guests. Yaron and his 2 Arab friends are here to visit me. 1 second, Hashem.
How did that happen? How did Hashem? How did he say to Hashem? Okay, I know he didn't say 1 second, Hashem, but how did he know that Hashem came to visit him? if we know that Hashem only presented himself to Moshe while he was not sleeping, while he was conscious. So how did he come to Abraham?
There's a few levels of prophecy. There's a prophecy that's during a dream. There's a prophecy during a meditation. There's also a prophecy that's a feeling.
Okay. That's
And
what
then
he
there's
probably
that he had a
had.
feeling. And there's a prophecy like Moshe Rabbeinu was the only one that had it, which is talking like you and I are talking without, obviously Moshe didn't see anything. Hashem doesn't have a body for him to see, but the point is that he spoke to him like you and I are speaking clearly. So Hashem appeared to him in the beginning of this parasha, and then it says he meaning that Avraham lifted his eyes and saw, and behold, 3 men were standing over him. He perceived, so he ran towards them from the entrance of the tent and bowed toward the ground. And he said, "My Lord, if I find favor in your eyes now, please pass not away from your servant." He's begging him to come. Come, let me host you. Let some water be brought and wash your feet and recline beneath the tree. I will fetch a morsel of bread. Look, I'll get you a little small piece of bread to satiate your hunger, that you may sustain yourselves, then go on. He ends up making a whole feast for these 3 people, bigger than any wedding we can have today. You know, the weddings people spend $150,000 on. At the end of every one of these weddings, there's at least a few $1,000s worth of food that gets thrown in the garbage. If you took all that food, you could probably feed a few homeless people, but nobody I think thinks of that when they're in the middle of these parties. But either way, hopefully some people think of it. But anyway, the Avraham Avinu is making these people a feast, and he's hosting them. The next part, these angels are starting to ask some interesting questions. They say to him, "Where is Sarah, your wife?" And he said, "Behold, in the tent." ויאמרו אליו, "איה שרה אשתך?" ויאמר, "הנה באוהל." Why? Well, I mean, these are angels. Obviously, they knew that at some point they're going to disclose to Avraham Avinu that they're angels. Obviously, that means that they knew where Sarah Imenu is. Why are they asking where Sarah? This is giving us a very, very big secret. The secret is they wanted to highlight for him and for the generations eternally of her modesty. In today's age, when the chevre come together, a bunch of chaverim, a bunch of friends come together, somebody's house, typically the wife sits with the guys, they're watching the ball game, they're drinking a beer together, ha 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 ha, this, that, it's all great, right? No. This is not the way of Torah. A woman is not supposed to be sitting amongst a bunch of guys. And this is what Sarah Imenu is teaching us. You have to be modest. There's just men there. That's it. Let the men be there. The woman is not supposed to be one of the guys. If there's other women, of course. But if there's just a bunch of guys, one woman, no, it's not modest. Sarah Imenu, which is the most beautiful woman in history. So it's not like she was some ugly woman that was hiding in a closet because she doesn't want the people to see her. This is the most beautiful people in the world, the most beautiful person in history, where the Gemara says she was so beautiful that everything else, every person else after her, the most beautiful person after her looks like a monkey next to her. And she is being highlighted over here for her modesty. Avraham Avinu is being reminded, look how modest your wife is. What, Avraham Avinu doesn't know this? She's 89 years old. They've been together for a long time. But again, why? Because now they're about to tell him, you are going to have a kid in a year from now. Meaning they have to cohabitate. So they want him to become re-attracted to her again. The laws of nature still apply. They still have to be attracted to each other. They still have to be together. That's why you see the tzaddikim, usually the relationships that they have with their wife, whether they're 20 years old or 85 or 90 years old, is still the same, still holding hands like babies when they're obviously alone, not in front of people. But the point is that the relationship and the kavod and the love that righteous people have to each other, it's something beautiful.
Yeah.
So they tell Avraham Avinu that you're going to have a kid when we return here next year. You're going to have a kid. You're going to have a son. And they made sure that Sarah is close enough where she could hear them talk. Sarah laughs at herself, saying, after I withered, meaning after she got old, shall I again have delicate skin? And my husband is old. I'm old now. I'm, 89 years old. It's not exactly my prime. Hell, and my husband too also, even more. My husband's really old. So Hashem comes to Avraham and Hashem said to Avraham, why is it that Sarah laughed, saying that I in truth bear a child? Shall I in truth bear a child, though I have aged? If you notice, Hashem changed the words. Sarah said, how can I have a child? My husband is so old. Hashem said, why is Sarah laughing, saying that she's too old to have a child? Sarah didn't say that she's too old. Sarah said that she's not what she was, but her husband is too old to have a kid. But Hashem is telling Avraham, why is Sarah laughing, saying that she's too old to have a kid? Hashem changed the words. Yechol lied for the sake of Shlom Bayit. For the sake of Shlom Bayit. Hashem. It's not Hashem. Hashem said, if he would have said to Avraham, listen, your wife thinks you're too old, it could cause a bayah, cause a problem. Between them, what, you think I'm too old, what this, what that? So Hashem said, no, for Shlom Bayit, a lie is allowed. For Shlom Bayit, but obviously not a lie, listen, I'm not, I'm still at work, but really you're with another woman on a Tuesday night. Not that type of lie, but a lie that's your wife asks you, have I gained weight? No, Mati told me, the same thing as when we got married. That type of lie. Okay, that's a recommended lie. That's a recommended lie. Somebody that's, people unfortunately today, there is not enough teachings about Shlom Bayit. And I know that Tomer just came back from a shiur, Baruch Hashem, it's good that they teach it, because Shlom Bayit is something that people don't really know enough about it. It's not, the problem with today is that most guys treat their wife like she's one of the guys. And most women expect their husband to be one of the women. So she wants to talk to him until he's blue in the face. And he wants her to watch UFC and NFL football and baseball and drink beer with him and his friends. And understand why, going to a baseball game is much more important to him than, playing with the kids and taking him to, learn some Torah together. Mm-hmm. Or in today's world, I don't know, taking a kid into some movie. So there's a very, very big separation between the two. And it's very, very important for a man to understand that a woman is not a man. It's not. It's very, very different. One of the things that men have a hard time understanding is, how come my wife remembers everything? How is it possible? I made a mistake 15 years ago, but she still reminds me of it to this day. I made a mistake. I was late, I was this, I was that, I made a mistake. I have not made that mistake in 15 years. We got into a disagreement. All of a sudden, she's reminding me of something from 15 years ago. How could it be? She made plenty of other mistakes, even worse than mine, but I forgot about them. So how could it be? That's what a typical husband asks himself. This we can actually learn from Adam HaRishon. We can learn from Adam and Eve, creation. Hashem tells us that He created man from dust, from the ground. and he created the woman from one of his bones. Right? His rib bone. By the way, if anyone asks why the rib bone, why not a different bone, is because the rib bone is the most modest bone. It's the one that's covered the most out of all the bones in your body. Mm-hmm. Your arm is exposed. Your bone of your arm is exposed. There's nothing covering it really. But your rib bone is covered not only by the skin, just like anywhere else in your body, but also by the arm that's covering it. Okay, so it's considered the most modest bone, giving us the secret message that it's an obligation, not a if you want to. It's an obligation for a woman to be modest. So if a woman that is not modest is not fulfilling her obligation and cannot pass the test. So now, if you write something on the ground, you go to the park, I'm sure there are a beach, you write something on the beach, and you want to erase it, what do? Take your foot, wipe it away, it's gone. That's the guy's memory. That's a man's memory. You say something to him, something nice, something mean, whatever it is, 5 minutes later you forgot about it.
Yes.
Forgot about it. Oh, okay, well, we got into a fight? I don't remember we got into a fight. What did we fight about? Let's watch the game together. Forgot about it. It's done. It's over. Sholem, sholem. A woman that's made out of the bone, if you want to write something on a bone, what do you have to do?
Hedge.
You have to engrave it. You have to engrave the bone.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. If you want to write something on a bone, you have to engrave it. Now what happens if you want to erase it? Good luck. Doesn't erase. You could do this all you want. Doesn't erase. Stays forever. Unless there's some serious work done to erase it, you have to wipe, pretty much scrape the bone and change the bone altogether in order to do it, which in so many words is giving you a secret. Your wife's memory will not change. She will remember everything. That's part of creation. So now, the secrets about everything, about shlom bayit, about business, about anything and everything, about science, about anything and everything you want from the Torah. Everything you want is in the Torah. So now HaShem is telling us another secret. This is not really so much of a secret, but it's, in our generation, a big secret. Why? Because people think that HaShem loves everybody that kisses the mezuzah and gives a dollar to a homeless guy. So Hashem is telling us plainly in a very, very simple verse who He loves. Now Avraham Avinu, you hear about Avraham Avinu. The tefillah of Shachrit. You start off before Hodu. You start off to talk about the Akedat Yitzchak. Talks about Avraham Avinu. In the Amidah, Tefillat Shmona Esrei, the first blessing is the blessing of Avraham Avinu. This is one of the promises that Hashem made to him. Why? Because He loves him. Why does He love him? He says over here. כי ידעתיו למען אשר יצווה את בניו ואת ביתו אחריו ושמרו דרך אדוני לעשות צדקה ומשפט למען אבי אדוני על אברהם את אשר דיבר עליו. For I have loved him. Who's him? Avraham. For I have loved him. Hashem is talking. For I have loved him because he commands his children and his household after him that they keep the way of Hashem, doing charity and justice, in order that Hashem might then bring upon Abraham that which He had spoken of him. So why does He love him? Because he keeps the way of Hashem. He keeps the way of Hashem, and he teaches it to his children. This goes back to what we talked about last week. Someone that has kids and says, listen, you know what, kid? I didn't get Jewish education, but I want you to have Jewish education. Go to yeshiva, I'm going to pay $2,000 a month or $1,000 a month or whatever it is. Go to this yeshiva, learn about Judaism. Great. It's chovah, it's an obligation. The kid comes back home, and Abba is getting ready for the camping trip he's going to do on Shabbat with his friends. He doesn't want to keep Shabbat. This does not make Hashem love him. Why? Because Hashem says not only does Avraham keep the way of Hashem, but he teaches it to his family. So when someone sends his kid to yeshiva and then says, okay, I did my job, that pretty much cancels me out. I don't have to keep anything because my kid's going to do it, which a lot of people think, by the way. A lot of people think that just because they're related to somebody that's righteous, they're okay. This couldn't be more foolish. A lot of times I ask people, especially older people, actually, you know what? Even people our age. I say to them, they don't keep anything. You start talking to the top. And they say to me at some point or another, they say, no, don't worry. My grandfather was a big tzaddik. He was a rabbi in Morocco. He was a rabbi in Morocco. He's a big tzaddik. There's books about him. There's this, there's that. Or my cousin's a big Talmid Chacham. He's a giant. Oh, my great-grand cousin or uncle or grandfather or my father, he's a big tzaddik. Okay, what about you? No, but they're big tzaddikim. Okay, so they're going to send you letters from Gan Eden to Gehenom. What does it have to do with you, that tzaddikim? Maybe because the tzaddikim, you have a schut that they sent you somebody that's going to help you do teshuvah, but as far as getting you to Gan Eden because they're tzaddikim, I don't know who made this stuff up. So what if the tzaddikim? Has nothing to do with you. As a matter of fact, the people that talk about their near-death experience, people that died clinical death, and they say that they saw old relatives, their mother or grandfather or so on, and these people, obviously, most of the people that have clinical death are not exactly righteous people before their teshuvah, before their clinical death. They see their family, their father or their mother or their uncles or whoever, that were big tzaddikim, and they don't want to be next to them. They're embarrassed of them, and they yell at them. Some of these stories are horrible. Like, it was so embarrassing to be here next to them. They were rebuking me, telling me, how could I do this? How could I do that? So the fact that when you go back into this logic that people have, that my grandfather was a tzaddik, and he was a rabbi in Morocco, or in Yemen, or in this place, or in that place, or he's whoever he was. Your grandfather could be David HaMelech. It means nothing to you. Unless you do teshuvah, unless you keep Shabbat, unless you keep kosher, unless you keep the mitzvot, unless you do what Hashem says, unless you live with Yirat Shamayim, unless you have fear of Hashem. You live a life with no fear of Hashem. We read it before in the beginning of the shiur. There's no hope for you. Someone lives their life without fear of Hashem, there's no hope for them. Without fearing Hashem, there cannot be a relationship. Because obviously you do not acknowledge what you're doing. What's the purpose of life? So now, these people that have these righteous ancestors, if anything, it's an additional punishment. Because the fact that you had an ancestor, especially a close one, like a father or a grandfather that you had a relationship with, that was righteous, you're embarrassing them. You're an embarrassment to the family. And it's very sad that people think that they can use this excuse that one day everything's going to be okay because somebody that they know is tzaddik. I don't know how that makes sense to anybody, but I guess the Yetzirah works in different ways. And it makes people think this makes sense. And actually the next, a few verses later, when Hashem is talking about, he sent them these three angels. One of them is there to heal Avraham Avinu from the Brit Milah. One of them is to fix Sarah Imenu and to have the child. And one of them is to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah and 3 other cities. So it's 5 cities total that are being destroyed. Sodom and Gomorrah were the most famous ones. That's what turned into Yam HaMelech. That's what turned into the Dead Sea. So now, he sends them these 3 angels, and he says to the angels, after they leave his house, what, I'm going to not tell Avraham Avinu I'm not going to tell Avraham what I'm about to do. I'm about to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. Aside from the fact that his nephew, Lot, his brother-in-law also, he's a brother-in-law and nephew.
He's a big judge.
He's a judge over there. But aside from that, I mean, Avraham, he's going to be he's going to turn into a great, mighty nation. All the nations are going to bless themselves by him. So I should let him know. So he tells Avraham Avinu, and Avraham starts praying for them. And he says to Hashem, Vayigash Avraham vayomer, Ha'af tispe tzadikim rasha. Avraham came forward and he says to Hashem, will you also stamp out the righteous along with the wicked? What if there would be 50 righteous people in the midst of the city? So he's saying, how could it be a righteous judge? Hashem Yitbarach is going to kill everybody, even if there's 50 righteous people there? You're going to kill the righteous and the wicked at the same time? Doesn't matter? Hashem says, no. If there's 50 righteous people there, I'm not going to destroy it. So then Avraham says, what if there's 45? Not going to do it. What if there's 40? What if there's 30? What if there's 20? What if there's 10? He goes all the way down to the number 10. Hashem says, no, if there's 10 righteous people in all of these cities, I'm not going to destroy them. Move the, okay, it's fine. So now, Avraham Avinu is doing something that's very different, that makes it a big difference between him and Noach. Noach ish tzaddik v'tamim. Noach was a righteous person, but he didn't fight for his generation. He told them what's going to happen. No one wanted to believe. Okay, that's it. Listen, Hashem's going to destroy the world. That's why I've been building this teva for the last 120 years. If you don't do teshuvah, Hashem's going to destroy the world. If you don't do teshuvah, Hashem's going to destroy the world. Anybody wants to do teshuvah, do teshuvah. You don't want to do teshuvah, don't do teshuvah. That's it. That's what Noach did. Avraham, on the other hand, he's praying, he's pleading with Hashem, and he's saying, listen, what if there's some righteous people? What if there's 10? What if there's 20? What if there's 50? He's arguing for them. He's putting himself in danger, technically.
What?
He's not talking to a Congress member. He's talking to Hashem. He says, V'anochi afar ve'efer, like I'm dust and ash, to be even talking to you. Not that I'm anything, I'm just, maybe there's righteous people. It's for your name, Hashem. How could the generations forever going to think that you just destroy everybody? How could it be? Maybe there's some righteous people. This always makes me think of the same thing. Every time I think about Sodom and Gomorrah and what Hashem talks about, and what Avraham talks about here and pleading, always makes me think about the same thing, which is what's happening in Israel, as well as America, but mostly in Israel now, with what the government, the Israeli government, is doing to the Avrechim. Being connected to Rabbi Ephraim and all the Avrechim from the Kollel over there, you get first-hand information of what's really going on in the religious world. And it's very sad. The government of Israel, the government of the Jewish people, technically, is anti-Jewish. They're doing everything they possibly can to make the religious people's lives miserable. If you're an Avrech and you're learning a full day, 9 hours a day, okay? 6 days a week, not 5 days like in America. 6 days a week, 9 hours a day. The Kollel will pay you 1,700 shekels per month. approximately $500, or less than $500, a little over $400. That's what the kollel will pay you. And this is someone that's learning a full day, 9 hours a day, has a family, 5 kids, 6 kids, 8 kids. And the government is making a big deal that they're giving people assistance of $25 a month per each kid. Per kid that they have, every kid you have, you get now. It used to be much more. Now it's gone down to approximately 100 shekels a month for each kid you have. You get so it's about $25. They're making this big deal about how they're milking the nation. This $25 is killing the nation. Now, why do I mention this? In the days of Sodom and Gomorrah, which we know if we fast forward the story, the end of Sodom and Gomorrah is not a nice one. The end is a complete destruction. Everyone and everything was destroyed, including the plants and the vegetation, where nothing will ever grow from that land. Nothing. If you go to Yam HaMelech, you can't even find a fish or an amoeba inside the ocean. It's a giant ocean. Can't find anything. No life. That's why it's called the Dead Sea. Nothing. You can't find no life whatsoever. The land, you can't grow anything. Nothing. He completely destroyed everything forever. But Avraham is saying to Hashem, and it comes to an agreement with Hashem, if I find 10 tzaddikim, will you save it? Hashem says yes. So if there's 10 tzaddikim, 10 righteous people, not saying 10 Avraham Avinu, 10 people that believe in Hashem. 10 people that believe in Hashem, fear Hashem a little bit. Don't worship idols. That's it. There's no, it's not 613 mitzvot in this generation. Mm-hmm. Even though the Chazal teaches us that the Masechet Avodah Zarah, which is part of the Gemara, has 5 parts, I believe. In our Gemara that we have, the Talmud Bavli has 5 parts. Avraham Avinu had Masechet Avodah Zarah, but he had 4,000 parts. 4,000 parts. Which means that if his Masechet Avodah Zarah was still around, we'd never finish the Shas. 4,000 parts. You know what I mean? So anyway, this land that's about to be destroyed, Hashem comes to an agreement and He says to them, if you find 10 people that believe in me, that fear me, I'll save everything. Couldn't find even 10. Couldn't find one. Other than Lot, that's a little bit of a question mark. He's righteous, but he's not righteous. He's righteous, but he has bad influences. But anyway, so now you have the nation of Israel today, modern Israel, that's going against the tzaddikim, that's going against the Torah. Now let me ask you a question. The people in Sodom and Gomorrah, when the angels come, they're about to destroy. And angels, if the angels would have told, listen, if you have 10 tzaddikim, you have 10 people that believe in Hashem, everything's okay. Everybody would do teshuvah in a second. Forget about finding tzaddikim, they'll do teshuvah. If they really believed it. Right? If they would have known that they could save themselves by just having 10 tzaddikim, they would have done it in a second. Right? Mm-hmm. So, now that we already have this story, why is it that the government of Israel is hurting those same tzaddikim that could be the only, not could be, that are the only way we could survive? Not could be. It's the only reason that we could survive. Imagine we had 10 avrichim in the middle of Sodom and Gomorrah, studying Talmud. You know, and everybody's laughing at them, throwing tomatoes at them, and torturing them, and whatever. Little do they know that the only reason Hashem didn't destroy them It's because of these 10 people they're throwing tomatoes at. That they're doing budget cuts. And they're giving them $25 a month. The same people that you're torturing is the only reason why you're still in this world. So now, they go to the angels. 2 of the angels go to Sodom and Gomorrah. Each angel has his own job. One of them has a job of saving Lot and his family. And one of them has a job of destroying the place. They arrive to Lot. And Lot all of a sudden becomes this big host, and he wants him to come inside. Initially they reject his offer, but then he pleads with them, please come inside, let me host you. And they agreed, they go inside. He prepares this meal for them. He learned a few things from Avraham Avinu. And all of a sudden the entire city, young and old, arrives at Lot's door and start bashing the door and saying, who are these people that you let in? Let us send them out here so we could be with them. What do you mean be with them? They want to rape them. They want to be with them intimately.
Wow.
That's all they say is don't more. Key West.
They want to be with them. They want to rape these. They don't know that they're angels. It says, bring them out so that we may know them. Otziem elenu v'nid'a otam. Nid'a, if you know, Adam Arishon, Yadai, his wife, and every time it says know someone, it means cohabit. So send them out so we could be with them. So Lord does something very strange here. He comes out. He says, no. Listen, leave them. They're under my supervision. Leave them alone. I have 2 daughters that are virgins. Do whatever you want with them. Take my daughters.
$2.
So on one end you're a tzaddik because you're protecting your guests, but on the other end, I don't know what you are. You're offering your 2 daughters for these people to do whatever they want with them. Very, very strange.
But he must have known that they wouldn't.
Must have known what? They wouldn't take the daughters?
There's got to be some kind of secret why he said his daughters.
No, he maybe.
No, it says over here.
special.
No, I know he
yes.
gave his daughters, but I'm asking. And he actually took his daughters,
No.
right?
No.
They didn't take his daughters?
No, they didn't take his daughters. They actually wanted. So this is the next point. So they became very aggressive with him. They became very aggressive with Lot. They are not interested in his daughters.
He was one of the judges.
Yes.
How did they? So he had some say in the city, and they still got.
Yes, but they said that now that you're hiding them, now that you're not letting us do what we want with them, you're going to get a worse treatment than them. You came here to act as a judge, so you think you can run the city? No. Now that you're hiding you're hiding them, we'll treat you worse than them. Meaning they're going to rape him also. So they tried breaking the door. The angels did their magic and made everybody blind. Made everybody blind. The craziest part about this story, they blinded them. They still tried entering the door so they could rape them. After, everybody just lost their vision. They can't see anything. And they're still trying to find the door to get into his house so they could find them. This is one of the lessons we learn here is that Rashaim, the wicked, even at the gate of Gehenom, do not do teshuvah. Someone is truly wicked, even at the gate of hell, they will not do teshuvah. And this is what these people were. So they tell Lot, come on, leave the city. You could take your family, you could take your loved ones. So his daughters had son-in-laws. So he comes to them to, okay, come on guys, let's come with me. Hashem is going to destroy the city. They started making fun of him. To me, yeah, you're a clown. Everybody's fine. I got my business, he's got his business. This guy's a this guy's a that. Everything is fine. Why are you saying Hashem's destroying anything? I don't see Hashem destroying anything. Oh, you're a clown, you lot. Go away. Mashiach is coming, Gog Magog. Nah. Everything is fine. I still got my job. I got a vacation planned in 2 weeks. My savings account is almost where I want it. My stocks are going up. The market is at all-time highs. I invested a little bit of money in Rite Aid. It went up 40% today. I did this. I did that. Everything is fine. Gog Magog. Atomic bombs. Mashiach. Nah. So what? This is what they're saying there. They're making fun of it. Not only they don't want to do teshuvah, not only they don't want to be saved, but they're making a joke of the whole thing. And Hashem hates people that make joke of the Torah. There's a special punishment for them. Because it says that one joke makes 100 rebukes worth nothing. If you have, let's say for example, you have a class of people, you have 1,000 people. Okay? 2 hours, you're telling them, you're giving them on their head. You got to do teshuvah, you got to keep Shabbat, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to be modest, you got to... 2 hours, and everybody's like, yes, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. Yes, Shabbat, and this, and that, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And then one guy says, funny beard. 2 hours is gone to nothing. No one's doing teshuvah. One joke, because you think you're funny. You want to get some attention. You have 1,000 people there. You want to get some attention. You don't get enough attention from your parents. You don't get enough attention from your house. You want to make a joke. Funny beard. Funny this. It's nothing. You make some stupid joke. The whole shiur, the whole teshuvah, the whole thing is in the garbage. And it's all in that guy's head. He thinks he's funny. Everybody laughs. Everybody na'anim. They're all enjoying. But that's it. 2 hours went to the garbage. Very, very, very careful. We're joking around when it comes to Torah. One joke, it's good to be happy. It's good to be funny. It's not a bad thing to be funny. It's one of the ways that you could improve your mood. Not saying it's, but there's a time and a place for everything. There's a time and a place for everything. Even Chazal, one of the teachings of Chazal, that it's a good way to start a shiur is to say a joke. I've never mastered that skill. I'm not exactly the best joke person. Usually my jokes are only funny to me. But they say that it's a good way to start a shiur is to say a joke. But if you notice, it's the beginning of the shiur. Next time. So now, those son-in-laws are not saved. They made a joke of the whole thing. Hashem gives the angels permission to leave them behind. Now it's only Lot, his daughters, and his wife. And he tells them, the angels tell him, do not look, al tabit acharecha. Do not look behind, meaning we're going to run away from the city, don't look behind. As we destroy the city, you don't have the zchut to see the miracles that are going to happen here to destroy the city. It wasn't guns, wasn't bows and arrows, wasn't a bunch of angels riding horses beating up people. There was balls of fire coming from heaven.
Mm-hmm.
It was something beyond nature. It wasn't a natural thing.
So why then not allowed to
see it? Because they don't have the zchut to see the works of Hashem. You have to be righteous to see things that are beyond our norm.
It's another evidence. What left?
Yeah, Melech, yeah, for sure. Sodom and Gomorrah was the most beautiful city in the entire world. Now, obviously there's no city, there's no Melech, but it's still a beautiful place. But just imagine how beautiful it really was. If the destruction looks this beautiful, imagine how beautiful the original product was, the original city was. So now, Lot's wife looks behind, she looks back, as Hashem said, told the angels, and the angels told them, don't look behind. She looked behind, she turns into salt, she turns into a pillar of salt, she dies. At this stage, Lot is not exactly a tzaddik. And Hashem says, when he's saving the city, and so it was when God destroyed the cities of the plain that God remembered Abraham. So he sent Lot from amidst the upheaval, where he overturned the cities in which Lot had lived. Meaning, he's telling us here, only reason why he saved Lot is because of Avraham Avinu, not because of Lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the schut of Avraham. So now, there's two types of people that Hashem saves. There's one that's really righteous, and one that has a schut of the righteous person. Meaning you're connected to a righteous person, so you're not so bad. You're not a wicked person. You're okay. You're not the tzaddik, but you're okay. You're in the middle. B'ezrat Hashem, we could get to that level. We're in the middle. So the tzaddik, Hashem will do everything for him. The tzaddik, Hashem will make miracles for him. He has nothing to worry about. He'll stop the whole world just to save this tzaddik. He'll go above nature. He'll do everything that needs to happen to take care of this tzaddik. That's why all of these avrachim that I'm telling you about, making 1,700 shekels a month, 1,700 shekels a month, 6 days a week. I mean, something insane. They have 8 kids. Just to break even costs at least $3,000-4,000, which is over $10,000, 10,000 shekels a month.
Mm-hmm.
But they're still living. How? It's mamash, miracles from Hashem. Every month is a miracle. Every single person that donates to these causes and helps these talmidim, it's mamash. It's a big schut. It's a big schut to be a partner with Talmid Chacham. So for tzaddikim like those, Hashem will do everything for them. You don't have to worry. But if you're not so tzaddik, then you have to worry. Then you have an opportunity. Hashem sends you a boat. You don't jump on a boat, you don't drown. He sends Lot the angels. You don't come at the time we tell you,
Done.
you're done. There's no special miracles for you. We told you don't look back. Your wife looked back, she dies. Just like everybody else. So that's the thing people need to understand, is that even if you, B'ezrat Hashem, get to the point where you're in the middle, you're not exactly in the safe. You have to really take advantage of the opportunity. Hashem sends you signs. Take advantage of those signs. After they destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, the only thing that's left, the only 3 people that are left, is Lot and his two kids, his 2 daughters. His 2 daughters, but they go into a cave, and they think that Hashem really destroyed the entire world. Both of them were very modest, despite being in Sodom, which is amazing. Both of them were righteous, despite being in Sodom. And both of them thought that Hashem really destroyed the whole world. There was so much destruction and fire and craziness and darkness. Everything was dark for them. They thought that this is the whole world. Back then they didn't have Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
So they thought this is the whole world. They thought Hashem destroyed the whole world. So they figured there's only 3 people left. There's 2 sisters and there's Abba. There's Lot. We have to still fulfill the mission of the world that Hashem sent us. So what do they do? Let's make, the oldest sister comes, and she tells the younger sister, let's make our father drunk.
And take advantage.
And sleep with him. Why make him drunk? Because, listen, he's not exactly a complete Rasha. He's not going to sleep with his daughter willingly. At least that's what they, that was the, so we have to make him drunk so he doesn't even know that he's sleeping with me. So he did it. She did it. The next day, when Lot woke up, he knew that something happened. He wasn't aware of what was happening at the time, but he knew something happened after. But he still let them get him drunk again, which shows that Lot wasn't exactly a tzaddik like his daughters were. And I'll explain to you in a second why his daughters were considered righteous, and proof that they were righteous, despite this incest. The Torah doesn't call this incest. Even though it's incest, they don't consider it incest for a second, I'll tell you. So they get him drunk again, so the second daughter sleeps with the father again, sleeps with Lot again. And it says over here, "V'ta'alin shtei bnot Lot me'avihen." Thus Lot's two daughters conceived from their father. The older bore a son, and she called his name Moab. He is the ancestor of Moab until this day. And the younger one also bore a son, and she called his name Ben-Ami. He is the ancestor of the children of Ammon until this day. So Lot's daughters really thought that in order to fulfill the mission of the world, they needed to pretty much repopulate the world. And they were the only ones left. The first one wasn't as righteous as the second one. The first one was a little bit obvious about it. That's what she called her son Me'av, which means Moav, which means that it came from my father. This kid came from my father. The second one was more modest. It's called her son Ben-Ami, meaning that my son is son of my people. My people is also my father. She was a little bit more modest about it. This is why the nation of Ammon, Hashem gave him a blessing later on when we left Egypt, for he told the Jews not to touch them, not to attack them. But how do we have a proof that they even though this whole balagan happened, and technically this is considered a sin, you're not allowed to have incest in Judaism, because they really thought the world was destroyed. But this was also a way for Hashem to fool the Yetzer Hara, the Satan. The Satan knows that when the Mashiach comes, the first thing that Hashem does is slaughter the Yetzer Hara. Destroys him. So he doesn't want the Mashiach to come. So Hashem, throughout all of the generations, always made the Mashiach come through the weirdest, strangest stories. This is one of the earlier ones, where this incestual situation, the Satan sees this and says, no way that something good's going to come out of this, so he leaves it alone, lets it happen. So what happens? Moab leads to Ruth. Ruth and Moaviyah. Ruth from the nation of Moab. Who's Ruth? The grandmother of David HaMelech.
Yeah.
The convert. She converted to Judaism. She's the most famous conversion story in history. She leads to become the grandmother of David HaMelech, which the Mashiach comes from. Ammon. She leads to being a descendant, a woman by the name of Naamah. Naamah is the wife of Shlomo HaMelech. From him comes the Mashiach. Shlomo HaMelech is the son of David HaMelech. In order for the Mashiach to come, it has to come not only from David HaMelech, because David had several sons, but it has to come from Shlomo HaMelech. So Moab and Ammon, both of his daughters, both of Lot's daughters, have both sides of the lineage of the Mashiach. So obviously, this is, Yad Hashem. You see Hashem's hand working all of this. We're almost done with Yad Hashem. The next part is after this whole destruction happens, Avraham Avinu decides that he wants to leave town, go to a different place, because everybody heard about what Lot did with his daughters. They're not really as understanding as you guys are right now. Lot gets himself a bad name. So Avraham wants to get away from him. So he moves to a different place. But what happened? He goes into a place ruled by Avimelech. Avimelech was actually considered a righteous person in his generation, considering. And they get to the gate, and they ask Avraham, who is this woman? He says, my sister. Same thing that happened last week with Paro. This time it's with Avimelech. So it's your sister? Okay, so they take it, they take the woman, they give it to Avimelech. And Avimelech is planning on marrying Sarah, who's already married to Avraham. Hashem comes to Avimelech in a dream, and he says to him that you're going to die because of this woman. You're going to die because you took this woman because she has a husband. So Avimelech says to Hashem, listen, I didn't know. He told me she's a sister. Hashem says, I know you didn't know, which is the reason I haven't killed you already, and I also did not allow you to touch her. This is teaching us that Hashem is not going to just allow people to sin for no reason. Only if you are intentionally careless or intentionally doing a sin is he going to let you sin. But if someone is really innocent, he doesn't know that putting gel on his hair is considered muktzeh on Shabbat. He doesn't know that maybe when he's making tea on Shabbat, he's supposed to put it from the hot water into first glass and then a second glass. He doesn't know. So he's making these sins. Hashem says if you're something that's shogeg, something that's like that, Hashem will get in the way. And he's going to find a way to get you to learn about these things. But if someone is just careless, and he doesn't want to go to Shiur Torah on Tuesday nights, he wants to be with his girlfriend. He doesn't want to learn about Shabbat. He wants to go to the movies. He doesn't want to learn about Hashem's world. He wants to go to birthday parties.
That's too good.
No, I'm not talking about anybody specific. I'm just making this stuff up as I'm going along. He doesn't want to do all these things. So that's a person that's intentionally careless. It's a person that's not willing to learn. He's putting Hashem on the bottom of his list of important things. So a person like this is going to make a lot of sins. And he's going to get punished for all of them. Avimelech did not intend to sin. He thought she was really a sister. And Hashem said, I know you didn't intend to sin. That's why I stopped you, and I did not allow you to touch her. He closed all of their open organs, and he also made them impotent. But this was an obvious punishment on everyone, because the women that were in labor were not able to give birth. The people that needed to go to the bathroom could not go to the bathroom. Everything was closed. When we say the Bracha Asher Yatzar, we really should appreciate everything we have, all of the open holes being open, and all of the closed ones being closed. Because if anything that's not supposed to be open is opened, or anything that's closed is not supposed to be, if it's the opposite, a person cannot survive.
1 hour.
So Hashem is telling him, I know you didn't want to do it, and that's why I stopped you from doing it, but now you have to give back the woman. If you don't, I'll kill you. And everyone that's related to you. So Avimelech runs to Avraham, he tells his people, give back the woman. But he tells Avraham, why'd you do this to me? Why did you do this to me? This is something that no one should do to somebody else. Making me make such a big sin. Eshet ish. Possibly being with another man's wife. Even the Rashaim don't do this in those days. Even Paro was upset about it. Of course, Avimelech is considered more righteous than him. How could you put me in this situation? He says something to him. It's probably my personal favorite, and I think one of the most important lessons we learn out of this entire shiur, not necessarily this entire parasha, because there's endless lessons you can learn from the parasha. But it sums up everything. He demands an answer, and Avraham gives him an answer. Why did he do this? Why did he tell him she's my sister? Vayomer Avraham, Amarti, rak en yirat Elohim b'makom hazeh, v'haragoni al dvar ishti. And Avraham said, because I said, there is no fear of God in this place, and they will slay me because of my wife. Avraham Avinu is teaching us something, not only that we need to learn for ourselves. If we don't have Yirat Shamayim yet, if we don't have fear of Hashem, if we don't operate our life with fear of Hashem, but with the people we connect to, the people we do business with, the people we hang out with. Avraham Avinu is telling you, someone that does not have fear of God, you cannot trust him in any way. Chazal tells us actually, someone that doesn't have fear of God, you shouldn't even be alone with him in a room. Even if he's your friend. Not talking about your enemy, not talking about Paro. Not talking about Mustafa with the knife in Palestine over there. Their fake nation. Talk about your friend, the guy from the gym that you hang out with every day. Doesn't have fear of Hashem, doesn't live his life in accordance with fear of Hashem. They tell you shouldn't be with him in a room alone. Because he may kill you. Not because he may upset you and yell at you and make fun of you and he tell you he may kill you. You can't trust him. Avraham Avinu is telling us over here, someone that has no fear of Hashem, you're going to kill you. You're going to have a very easy time killing me. Very easy time. What do you care? You have a pretty wife. She's 89, but she's still prettier than everybody else in the world. And now Hashem blessed her, and she's getting her youth back also. Her body's changing again, back to being in youth also. But aside from that, he's telling us here something very, very important. If we ourselves don't fear Hashem, don't have a life where we're living a life with mamash, fear of Hashem. If you don't have Yirat Shamayim, what do you believe in? What do you think? Because you love Hashem? What is Hashem then? How could you love something that you don't know what it is? The reason why they say that teshuvah from yirah, teshuvah from fear of Hashem, is easier, not as rewarding, but easier than love of Hashem. Because loving Hashem, you have to truly know Hashem and everything that He does, and see everything, and everything, connect everything to Him. That takes time. It takes a lot of work. Fearing Hashem, all you have to know is what you're dealing with. Which means that in order to love Him, first you have to acknowledge what you're dealing with. You can't love Him without knowing what He is, or at least having some concept that He's really in control of everything. To connect everything to Hashem, first you have to acknowledge that He's connected to everything, that He is everything. Which means that if He is everything, of course I'm going to fear something like that. Of course I'm going to be scared of some being that literally is in control and is everything. Whether the oxygen that's coming in, or carbon dioxide that's leaving, or the cells are functioning, or the blood reaches my heart, and the heart pumps at the very exact pace that it needs to pump, or my brain cells travel at a certain speed and do everything that they need to do, all of this is in His control. Forget Parnassah, forget Shlom Bayit, forget whether I understand this shiur or not, forget whether my baseball team wins, forget all that stuff. Just you, look in the mirror. The fact that you're alive is mamash a miracle. And I'm not talking about if you're sick, chas v'shalom. Healthy person, every second you're alive is dependent on this being that decides every second whether you will live or not. Every second. Not every day or every year. It's every second. Because the second that one of these things I just mentioned doesn't work, that's it. Game's over. The second that we don't get the oxygen, we can't function. You ever see somebody have an asthma attack? It's almost a nightmare. Someone can't breathe, eyes get all red, bloodshot. They can't survive. It's not like they, it's okay, I'll wait 5 minutes. The air is going to come back, like the air conditioning. You can't breathe for a second, everything changes. Your parnassah is not important anymore. The argument you have with your wife is not important anymore. Whether the Mets won or lost the World Series is not important anymore. How much money in the bank you have is not important anymore. Whether this customer bought, sold, or did this or did that, whether the stock went up, stock went down, nothing is important anymore. The second you stop breathing, the second oxygen is not entering your body, nothing is important other than when can I get the next breath. And all of that is dependent on Him. So when you think about it that way, how can you not be scared? Which means that the only reason why we're not scared is because we're not thinking about it the right way. We're not contributing and connecting everything to Him. Because if we did, it's very easy to fear Hashem. And once it's easy to fear Hashem, it's very easy to love Him. Meaning to get on the road of loving Him. Parasha is not even, there's another very, very big story, but we're not going to go over all of it because we're out of time. But the Akedat Yitzchak, which I'm sure you're going to hear about and hopefully read about yourself.
למה קוראים לזה עקידה?
עקידה meaning he binded him.
Yeah, אבל למה לא הקרבה?
Ask Hashem. Mashiach comes, we're going to ask him a few questions. Akedat Yitzchak. Because I'll tell you why. When Avraham and Yitzchak went up to the mountain, initially before they got up to the mountain, Yitzchak says to Avraham, his father, Yitzchak is 37 years old. He's not a little boy. He's 37 years old. He's strong. He's at the prime of his years. It's not like Avraham beat him up into it. Because he's still, and considering his father was 137, his father's 137, he's 37, it's a 100-year difference. He's considered a Na'al. If you will go next to your grandfather, it's 85 years old, 90 years old, you're considered a Na'al. And you're what, 25, 26? Same thing. So now, Avraham Avinu, Hashem comes to Avraham and He tells him, bring your son as an offering to me. He says, I have 2 sons. I have Ishmael and I have Yitzchak. He says, your only son. No, the one you loved. I love both of them. He says, Yitzchak. It's your only son. Which, by the way, from here we learn that when someone has a kid with a non-Jew, let's say a guy has a girlfriend or a wife that's not Jewish, and they have a kid, the kid is not considered his son. Which means, based on the Torah, if let's say the Jewish guy has a daughter with his non-Jewish girlfriend, and the daughter grows up and she's 20 years old, and she decides to convert to Judaism. Technically, based on the Torah, she's allowed to marry her father, her biological father. Now, Chazal says that this would look bad for the Goyim, so they're not allowing it. But based on the Torah, Hashem says you're allowed. Why? Because they have no relation whatsoever. Even though biologically they have a relationship, as far as soul, as far as neshama, they have no relationship whatsoever. Which is mamash chaval when you have people in the world that are having one baby after another with their non-Jewish girlfriend, thinking that, oh, one day she's going to convert and everything's going to be okay. They don't realize that when they get to Shemaim, it's not okay at all. It's a big, big problem. And not enough rabbis are telling them what they need to hear. Chas v'shalom, they're going to miss the minyan. So anyway, we get to the story where Hashem tells Avraham, go make your son an offering to me. Avraham runs, does it early in the morning, which is where we get the teaching of how a tzaddik hurries up to do a mitzvah. And he takes him to the mountain. Yitzchak asks his father, Abba, where's the korban? Where's the animal? And he says, Hashem's going to worry about it. But if Hashem doesn't bring us a korban, then you're going to be the korban. So when they get up there, Yitzchak says to Avraham, he says to his father, Abba, I want to do what Hashem wants us to do. Hashem said that I need to be the korban, then I'm going to be the korban. But since I'm young, and I'm feisty, and I'm stronger than you, I'm very concerned that once you cut me, or maybe once you even show me the knife, I'm going to have a big yetzirah. And maybe I'm going to hit you, and overpower you. So tie me up. That's where the akedah comes from. Tie me up, so I could do Hashem's will. So really, the Akedah, v'yakodot et Yitzchak, was Yitzchak's request. Was really Yitzchak's request. Avraham wasn't going to do it with the tying him up. He doesn't need to. If the kid's willing to do it, what is he tying him for? And he can't overpower him. He's 37 years old, strong kid. He's not a strong guy. He's not a 137-year-old man. Is not going to overpower him. He's not going to fool him into it. Meaning that Yitzchak had to be not only fully aware, but fully willing to be the korban. And when Hashem sent his angel to tell Avraham, Al tishlach yadecha el anar, ve'al ta'as lo me'uma. כי אתה ידעתי כי ירא אלוהים אתה ולא חסכת את בניך את יחידיך ממני. He says, do not stretch your hand against the lad, meaning against Yitzchak, nor do anything to him. For now I know that you are a God-fearing man, since you have not withheld your son, your only one, from me. So to finalize the shiur, this is the lesson we have. First of all, you see how much Hashem loved Avraham, from giving him all these different tests, which we learn more about next week. The second thing is, and also because Avraham, he says literally, I love Avraham because he does what I want, not because he's a nice guy and he kisses the mezuzah. Second thing we learn is that Avraham was excited to do anything Hashem said, without question, including kill his own son. Third, his son was no less righteous. His son was willing to do it. He says, Abba, tie me up. And when Hashem sends a message to tell him, don't do it, it says it twice. It says, don't stretch out your hand against the lad. Don't do anything. Why does it say it twice? Don't stretch out your hand. There's only one thing already. Why are you saying it twice? Because after the first time Hashem says, don't do anything, stop. So Avraham is saying, and Yitzchak is saying, okay, maybe we should cut a little bit. Okay, don't kill me, but cut a little bit. At least it's something. We came here for something. At least a little bit.
Don't touch.
It says don't touch. And last but not least, we see that out of all of this, Avraham gets to the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal in life. The ultimate level.
Yes.
If it's a video game, it's the highest level. If it's lavdil, if it's a life, it's the ultimate purpose. It's everything. What is it? Hashem says, I know that you are a God-fearing man. Not I know that you love me. Not that I know that you like my Torah. Not that I know that you come to the Knesset. I know that you fear me. So when someone says to you, no, you shouldn't scare people, you shouldn't teach the scary part of the Torah, teach nice things, teach nice stories, teach about Shlom Bayit, teach about the different scientific facts about the Torah, teach about the Haggadot and the nice miracle stories. Yeah, of course, you add all of that into it. You can't just get people on the head and only bad things. But if you only teach the nice things, you're not going to achieve this ultimate purpose. Avraham Avinu, what was his ultimate purpose? We all want to be even a shoestring of Avraham Avinu. What is it? A God-fearing man. So Be'ezrat Hashem, one day we can get to a point of being a God-fearing man.
Amen.
ברוך ה' לעולם, אמן ואמן.
Yeah.